Oh my God,
Welcome
there I am.
to Liner Notes Radio here at Hotel RL in the Baltimore Inner Harbor. I'm Michele McTierney.
And I'm Meg B.
And tonight we have a very special guest.
Spencer Losciavo. And he has a new album out called Chasing Ghosts. It's his debut as a solo artist, and we're really happy to have him here. For more information, you can find Spencer on all media, social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at the key name Spen Losch, and that's SpenLosch. And you can also check out his music on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, anywhere that you can, buy and sell music online. Welcome to the show, Spencer.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So, Spencer, I saw you the other day at the Spartan Inn.
Yeah.
And you did a phenomenal performance with your new band.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you were performing both some cover tunes, to warm the audience up, but you were also performing songs off your brand new spanking album here. This is one of the tightest, best EPs I've heard in a long time. I put this in and I'm like, this is so good. Like, I listened to this nonstop for a couple days because I was like, this is just amazing. There are two songs that I personally love, which I hope you're going to perform tonight.
Totally.
Chasing Ghosts and Forgive Yourself.
Yeah.
Just amazing stuff. He's going to be famous, and you are going to hear this stuff on movies and TV. I can guarantee you. This is good stuff. So can they download this?
Yes, it is available for download on iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere. Apple Music, Napster, which is still a thing apparently that people use, and anywhere good music is streamed and sold.
Awesome. So today we're going to talk about kind of how to get started in the business. I know we talked with Celeste Stacy, our last show. Thank you so much, Celeste. You were a joy, and you gave us so much great information about breaking excuses and how to get started, becoming an expert in your field, networking and stuff. And that was really an important show, especially around January 8th, because everybody has those New Year's resolutions that they want to do.
And Spencer's here to reinforce them by helping you get your art started.
Well, because you have to start from somewhere. I had that come to God moment in a kind of a revelation where I was like, I hate my life and I'm not happy. And what's the one thing that's made me happy? It's music. It's always been music. And I basically started from scratch midlife. Well, not really midlife. That'd make me really old, but but kind of, sort of, not a spring chicken, let's just say, not a teeny bopper. And, and going from there, not having any connections to the music industry. My family wasn't in it. Right. I didn't know anyone, starting from zero.
I had a similar experience.
Yeah.
And
we were talking about like Forrest Gumping your way into what you want to do. So how did you get started in music, and then how did you know that you wanted to actually do this as a career?
Well, it was really just a pathway of failures, I mean, that's the best way I can describe it. Is I started when I was 13, and I just thought I'd pick up guitar, and then everything kind of changed, because at that time I was not very serious. I just thought, like, well, I'm gonna play around with my friends and in their basement and stuff like that. We're gonna do like Nirvana covers and stuff like that. And then I went to a local show, and most of the local bands I'd seen before that were like pop punk bands. So, not really my genre. And then I saw this band called Hybrid. I don't know if you guys remember Hybrid from way back in the day. And Hybrid was just this amazing like mix of like emotional, like progressive, like it was just it was, I could see that it took effort and that it took passion. And then I thought, well, there's no reason why I can't do that. there's no reason why I have to be in these shitty pop punk bands, and like nothing against them, but that's not what I wanted to do. And so
what venues were you seeing them locally? You said locally.
Oh man, I was kind of a hybrid groupie at that time,
Uh-huh.
as many of us were, and I've actually reconnected with a lot of friends from back then, and one of them is in my band today, and so we would follow them around. We would see them at Paisanos back in the day in Annapolis. I don't know if you guys remember
oh my
that.
God, yeah.
Paisanos, Woods Church, like all the places that no longer function
Right.
as a venue anymore, And so that was what at that time made me like, this is what I want to do. Like it was just like a local band. So I mean, they were so much more than a local band, but.
Well, thanks to
But
hybrid.
what gave you that confidence to be able to say, oh, I could do that? Because a lot of people, that's where their main problem lies, is they're like, man, I really love that, and I really want to do that, and I could probably do some of it, or maybe, but I don't feel like I'm any good, or everybody's told me, you're not that great, or, you know what I mean? Like, how did you get by that, or did you just have natural confidence, which I would hate if you did?
No. I would say young teenage naivete. Thank you. Yeah.
English major.
Yeah, me too. So yeah, and I totally just lost my train of thought just now.
Well,
but
let's see. You said Nirvana was one of your musical inspirations for picking up an instrument. Who else? Kind of.
Sort of. Yeah. It's just that's so accessible for a young kid. That's like just picking up a guitar for the first time. You just learn like 3 chords, and there you go. There's a Nirvana song, and So that was just like a gateway though. And then high school and college, I sort of fell out of it a little bit, and then I came back into it when I saw the band Keen. I don't know if you guys are familiar. And I was introduced to them and put in their album Hopes and Fears, and it just changed. It changed the way that I look at music, because it was so different from anything that I had been exposed to at the time. And so that reinvigorated me and made me like, okay, I can do this as well. So yeah, that's how I got started.
I guess at what point did you feel like music was something that you could do more full time or commit more time to? Because all musicians start out with day jobs. Have you reached that point where you can do a little bit of both, or one more than the other now?
I still have day jobs, but I don't do day jobs that I don't want to do anymore.
That's nice.
So it means that I do things that I feel are more than just money, because I honestly don't think about money at this point. I don't care about it. So I just do things that enrich my well-being and my soul and make me a stronger person, instead of just thinking about, oh well, I fucking hate this job, let me just do it but it pays a lot of money, so I don't care.
Do you think that boosts your confidence as a performer, because you're doing it for your best self, and you're putting your best self out there, and that's going to attract actually more opportunities, because you're being the best person and version of you that you can be as a musician? Yeah,
I think it does, because I never think about and I used to, right? I used to just perform music, and I used to do like covers and stuff that I think, oh, this is just what people want to hear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But now I do what I want, and for me that has elevated my confidence, because it's interesting when you do something and it's inauthentic, people will notice.
Oh yeah.
They'll be like, "Oh, you're just doing this cover." Like I used to do this cover of Uptown Funk, and I hated doing it because it was just me and an acoustic guitar. You just took everything that was cool about that song, and just the only merit that it had was that you knew it, and I was just like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. If I do a cover, it's a new arrangement. It's done in a way that's that's in the way that I want to do it, and it's a song that I want to do. So yeah.
And that's what I do with a lot of my cover music. Like, I mean, I do cover music for money, but it's also for exposure and to kind of slide in my originals in there as well. So there's a method to my madness.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. Like, I see so many cover bands out there, and it's like they're just singing it because they know the audience will sing along, and they're not doing anything fresh with it. They're just kind of like, just because you know it. And some of them will just have books and books of the chords. Yeah. And so they'll just like kind of like fart their way through a cover just to, get a tip from somebody in the audience. So I think it is important to show a certain artistry in whatever you do. Yeah. There are some great tribute bands. Absolutely. But it means but those tribute bands, like Girlfriend in a Coma, who does the Morrissey and Smiths, fantastic band, fantastic tribute band. And there's a lot of great tribute bands out there, but that's because they hone their craft and they really, really work at it. Yeah. Because if you don't work at it, you're going to be a weekend warrior, and it shows.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If you don't love what you're doing, then why are you doing it? And they will be able to tell that.
Well, they can say that they love it, but at the same time, it's like a haphazard. You may love the attention on stage. You may love the free alcohol.
Right.
But that only lasts so long.
It does. Yeah. And then your performance is hollow.
Yeah. Do it for the right reason.
If I can't feel the song, I will not do it. Like, some people are like, oh, do Sweet Home Alabama. I've done Sweet Home Alabama. It sucks my soul out of my whole body. I mean, seriously, like, I actually told one guy, he's like, I've heard you do Sweet Home Alabama before. And I'm like, I know, but no. And he's like, I'll pay you for it. I'm like, do you have $5,000? Because that's how much soul-sucking songs.
I just so happened to have $5,000 and a yacht.
Oh, man. Now you've just paid my mortgage for 5 months. Thank you. Sweet Home Alabama. Not that that's a bad song, but it's just
not at all. It's just overdone.
It is,
and it's
And I don't connect with it on a personal
same,
level
because we're not from Alabama. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I mean, it does talk about Muscle Shoals, and I don't know if you've ever seen that documentary about Muscle Shoals.
No.
Great documentary about a recording studio that just has a certain vibe and a feel. Yeah. Aretha Franklin recorded there, Lynyrd Skynyrd, Allman Brothers, Rolling Stones. Oh, yeah. So many different great people. And they said there's just something even in the ground around there that just breeds more creativity. But
that's so interesting.
It's a great documentary.
Probably a vortex of energy, like in Sedona, Arizona, something like that.
Yeah. Great documentary.
That's interesting.
But I do think also it's about networking and making relationships.
Yeah.
For whatever you're doing. You had told me that the reason why you would do a Baltimore Songwriter Showcase, even though it's an unpaid show, or even this, is because you know that we're building a community. Yes. And it's about education, and it's about art and music and artistry. How does that translate into choices that you make, either for shows? Because we all would love to make tons and tons of money and play to millions of people. But there are certain choices you make when you play or perform out, or when you record, or when you choose band members or people that you play with, that, dictate how you feel about your art and what your vision is. Yeah. What are your thoughts about that?
You work with enough assholes that you kind of develop like this kind of gut feeling, and for me, it's like if I don't like working with somebody, and there's even something off about them for even a second, I'm just like no, I don't want to work with you, and it's never been wrong, like you get like you get a good feeling about people that you like to work with, which is why I agreed to do this, because I have a great feeling about you, and I
have a great feeling about you too.
Thanks. And that's it.
So and Meg, I have a great feeling about you.
Yes.
It's just a lot of good vibes on the stage here at Hotel RL.
We're calling it Good Vibes, the show.
We'll get a
so-
theremin up here.
Yeah,
just
yeah,
some
yeah,
Beach
yeah.
Boys inspired
Exactly.
dance.
So yeah,
dance.
just listen to your gut instinct and don't work with anybody that you don't want to. Like it all comes back to that. You know, don't like I do feel like I'm trying to build a community right now among musicians and stuff like that in this area, because I never felt like it. I never felt like a part of it. I don't know if that was because I was a bit different from everybody else or whatever, but I just never quite fit in. So I just started to build, like, I'm going to build my own. So that's how I built my band, and I started like finding people that I like hanging out with. Not only that I like hanging out with, but this is really important for me, is people that have something to say. Because there's a lot of people who just will go to like they just go to have an acoustic guitar and go to I'm that asshole too. You know, you just have an acoustic guitar, you go to an open mic, but there's these guys that they go and they just sing a song about like getting high or whatever, and I'm just like, okay, that's cool, but you're not saying something. So I really embrace those artists and those people that like they have something to say. They're not just doing it, like, to go back to what we were talking about earlier, they're doing it because they love it. They're not doing it because they're trying to get women or something like that. You know what I mean?
I like that a lot, because when I was starting out and doing different open mics, and one time actually I met Brandi Carlile at Record Theater on her first album tour when she was just starting out, and I love her music, and she really seems to try. And she said, just go and play as much as you can, as many places as you can, and keep going. And that's how she did it. And so I did. And I went to this, I live up in Baltimore. I'm on the northeast side now. I grew up in Woodlawn, Catonsville, went to UMBC. But I went down to New Deal Cafe. They had an open mic there. And I went and I played some songs, and I thought it was so cool because music literally is the universal language, because one of the other performers was literally a rocket scientist. And, you know, if we had met in casual conversation, I might have no clue what he was talking about, but because he had a guitar and sat up there and played a song, we could have a conversation. So I've met so many different people from all walks of life through music that I feel what you're saying on creating a community. And I know Michelle feels the same way. We've both run open mics. We grew to that stage and then grew to performing, and it's just a nice family, and everybody kind of seems to get along.
Well, and everyone, I think, has something similar to say. I mean, I don't think we're all that different.
Right.
We all have insecurities. We all have fears that we're dealing with. We all have problems. And, you know, maybe you have a health problem, or maybe you have a money problem, or maybe you have all of the above, or what have you. But we all have those same emotions and those same feelings. And to hear it in a song makes you not feel so alone. And that's what I love about live performances. It's almost like, and this is what my tour is called this year, is the group therapy tour.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
it's you know,
I love that.
because that's really what I feel is a live show, is that you have people who can, like, in a group, there's this collective. Everybody's different. We're not saying that everybody's just suddenly becomes a Borg, a cyborg, or whatever.
Yeah, the Borg.
One of the
Nice
Borg.
Star
2 of
Trek
9.
reference.
But
Resistance is futile.
yeah, 2 of 9 at the Alanis Morissette concert. No, but everybody has these certain feelings, and to hear that and to be able to have a cathartic experience, a shared cathartic experience, you have this sense of community. And if you've ever been to like a Dave Matthews concert or a Dead concert, or a lot of these bands that tour all the time, Kiss. These fans have a collective understanding, and it's just like this amazing, like, oh, I don't know your name, I've never met you, but hey, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like a family reunion with
Exactly.
lots of people. Yes.
Exactly. You're my 4th cousin. I've never met you, but hey.
We both like Kiss, so
I know,
we
it must be
close.
okay. Yeah, exactly.
I've actually made plenty of friends, like Frank Turner. He's a newer artist in the past 10 years, but the people at his shows are great, and I've made a couple of really good friends through there. So you never know who you're going to adopt into the family on a daily basis.
Yeah. But I think it is important. Like, I know what you mean about different types of music. Sometimes people get siloed and cliquey.
Yeah.
And I have seen that in a lot of different cities. I think that Baltimore is starting to break that a lot. And having concerts that have different types of music on the bill. It's not just, hey, we're going to do a power punk show. Like, I kind of like it when it's not just one genre show. I like it when it's all shaken up, because when you come to a show and it's like all these different kind of things, it's like, ooh, I'm getting exposed to different stuff and different types of music. But when people try to fit you in a box anyway with a genre, I hate that. Because I do all kinds of different music and instrumentation in my songs. Yeah. And I feel like trying to put me in a box of like, oh, you're kind of like indie pop, rock, whatever. And I'm like, but none of those really fit, you know?
Yeah. There's no question I hate worse than, well, what kind of music do you play? It's like every single time I am asked that question, I'm like, I just die a little bit inside. like when you play Sweet Home Alabama, you know, I just want to be like, can you just listen to it, because I sound like an idiot when I'm trying to describe it with words. What's the expression? Writing about music or something is like something. You know what I'm? Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Writing about art or painting.
Something like that. Yeah. There was some like
or
it's all
quote.
objective.
Yeah.
It's like a shared experience. I don't know. It's like trying to describe an elephant
to someone who's never seen an elephant.
To like 5 blind people. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Like the 5 blind people who are in a room with an elephant, and one has the tail, and one has the trunk, and one has the foot, and one has the ear, and they're all trying to describe what the elephant is, and they all have a different perspective.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a giant human with a long Pinocchio nose and really
this is a snake.
Skin.
No, this is a tree trunk. No, this is
it's
a
polka
piece
dots.
of rope. Exactly.
Well, on that note, we're going to wrap up this segment, and we'll have Spencer joining us live on stage to share some of this awesome music we've been talking about, tempting you with at home and online. So please stay tuned to Liner Notes Radio. I'm Meg B.
I'm Michele McTierney.
Spencer Lociavo.
And thanks for joining us here at Hotel RL. We'll be right back.
Stay classy. Spock. Good to go? All right. My name is Spencer Lociavo, and this song is called Forgive Yourself. Your heart in a dungeon of stone. I bet you even threw away the key. I'm the master of grandiose escapes, and I'll be the one to grovel at your feet. Yesterday will fade away. Your burden's just a knick-knack on a shelf. Volcanic eruptions make an island. You've been wounded so long now. Don't you think it's time to forgive yourself? If you're the darkness, then I'm the stars. Together we can save the galaxy. Your redemption is in your hands. If you're willing, baby, love will set you free. Yesterday will fade away.
volcanic eruptions make an island. You've been wounded so long, now don't you think it's time to forgive yourself? There's a rupture in your wall, but we're gonna tear it all down. You've been wounded so long, now don't you think it's time to forgive yourself? To forgive yourself. Thank you.
And thanks to Spencer Losciavo for playing at Hotel RL for Liner Notes Radio with Meg B and Michele McTierney. We're going to be readjusting here in just a second. But Spencer, that was just off of Chasing Ghosts, correct?
Correct.
Which is his new album that you can check out on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, all the places where you can stream and purchase music to take home with you in your car ride home, after school or work, get you through your day. Chasing Ghosts, Spencer Losciavo. And our fearless co-host and leader, Michele McTierney, is going to be back up on stage with us in just one moment. Oh, yes. Let me just take this mic. Check. That one's working. Yeah. We'll move that out of the way. Yeah. There we go.
Sitting down. Being served.
We always have a nice array of snacks for all of our guests and beverages. So if you'd like to be on Liner Notes Radio, Meg, tell them, how can they be on Liner Notes Radio?
Well, first, if you're a friend of Meg B or Michele, and then you already should like the Facebook page, Liner Notes Radio, or you can check us out at linerNotesRadio.com. So on our last segment, we were talking about, kind of building your confidence, building a music community. Spencer seems to have found his way, as many musicians have, to each other, because I think that's a common thing for musicians. We feel like we've got something to say. We're not sure how we want to say it. We don't know if anybody else out there is thinking the same things we are. And then we find our voice through our instrument, through our music, and are able to kind of communicate that to the world through that. So I guess, how many, this is your debut, Chasing Ghosts is your debut album as a solo artist. Have you been in other bands before? If so, how many? And we wanted to talk about possibly the process people go through in forming a band, because at Liner Notes Radio, we like to educate and be there for people of all levels of musicianship.
Yeah. I was in 2 bands before, and one of them was all the way in there, actually, in South Korea.
Oh wow!
I had a band called Asleep Without Dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
We were a trio. I formed a band with my best friend Keith Levesque. If you're watching, I don't know if you are, but anyway, that became that was kind of the first time that I'd ever really taken my own music and we recorded an album. We started playing shows and stuff like that. I'm actually still using Asleep Without Dreaming songs and using it with my solo project.
Did you write lyrics and music for that project, or did Keith share that with you?
Yeah, he did actually. We wrote a couple of songs together. So that was a really cool like collaborative process, and it's interesting how you meet certain people and you creatively there's just an energy there, like it's just like you don't even really have to try, it just comes so easily.
Lennon and McCartney kind of vibe, huh?
Yeah. I have that. It's a hard thing to find, but when you do find it,
you
like,
hold on, yeah,
capture it, because it's magical.
And you said that was in South Korea?
Yeah.
So that's where they're having the Olympics right now. How fortuitous to
Yeah.
have you on today while those are going on. Wow, that's amazing. How long did you guys do that project for?
We recorded an album in 2011. About what was that? 2000? Yeah. Which is a lot longer than it feels like.
Sure.
Right, and then we toured around with that album, around Korea and Japan for years and years and years, and then Keith went to live in Japan, and then that's when I came to the States, and I started a band with my little brother.
Wow.
We were called Lost Child.
Oh.
Now you and I actually played a show at Metropolitan.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember
a year
that.
or two ago or something.
Yeah.
When you had Lost Child. So
Yeah.
good stuff.
Thank you.
Really good.
Where did you come up with the name for Lost Child? Because that's another thing. A lot of bands, they try to figure out, how do we come up with our name? That's always a big hurdle, it seems sometimes.
So yeah. For me, I'm extremely stubborn. So when I decide on a name, I'm like, that's it. I'm sticking with that name, and so Lost Child came about as it was a song of mine, and my brother goes one day when we were discussing what we're gonna name things, and he's like, Lost Child would be a great name for an album, and I'd be like, why don't we just name the band Lost Child? And something just clicked. It was like, yeah, that's what this should be called. Now, when I started my solo project, I mean, I could have called it anything, really. It doesn't have to be my name, but the reason that I went with Spencer Lo Schiavo is because if it doesn't always have to be me and so, right. It can be whatever I want it to be. So I can play a show with this person and it'll still be me, right? I can play a show with somebody I've never played anything with before. It's just, I think, is a talented musician, and it'll still be me. So that's why I decided that my name would be the particular label for this project.
Wonderful.
All right. Now, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, how do you go about branding yourself?
I would say you have to have a persona.
The hat helps.
To disappear. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Among other things, to disappear into. And really, the persona is just kind of you.
Super ego?
It's just kind of you plus confidence. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have confidence, you're just playing the part of someone who does. So
fake it till you make it.
Exactly. Yeah. And
so sort of how a sketch artist would draw a caricature, you kind of pull something out of yourself and just kind of embellish that a little bit to kind of bring attention to your project.
Yeah, exactly. It's like think about like Robert Downey Jr. Like how he just kind of like disappears into like the well, not really disappears, right? Because it's hard to tell where he and that character of Iron Man, like which one starts. Like, how do you tell the difference? Like they're practically
the Playboy,
right? They're practically inseparable. So I just think like you develop this persona, and then hopefully it's a good one because you start to develop like characteristics of that persona. And
do you ever have a problem with duality? Like, because sometimes it's almost like Batman and Bruce Wayne. You know what I mean? And so you feel like when you're on stage, sometimes you feel invincible, but at the same time, you can sometimes feel fake.
Yeah.
And and I know I've had to ride that edge because it's almost like a customer service persona, because when you get off stage, you're like, oh, I got to be nice to the fans and stuff, even though I'm tired and I'm not feeling good, but I'm going to go on stage and give it the best possible show I can. And so you have this problem with authenticity, because you want to be the best you possibly can and give the right emotion to the song, but at the same time, are you being authentic to yourself? I mean, it's kind of a dilemma that I've had to like check myself at times.
Yeah. I guess you just again, like, I don't know if you're. It's hard to keep those things in check. But if you're like, if as long as the product is true, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like for me though, I mean, that's the reason why I didn't just like put my face on the cover, is because for me it was just like, it was just an idea of like, I want to represent an idea, going back to the whole Batman thing. Like I'll become a symbol. As a man, I'm as a man, I'm mortal. I'm breakable. I'm corruptible. But as a symbol, I can be something more, right? So that was kind of my idea, is like erasing that, and then you just become you become your symbol. You become whatever.
Embrace
Gotham
your
needs you
inner
to be.
Batman, basically.
Exactly. If you be yourself, unless you can be Batman. If you can be Batman, then always be Batman.
Yeah. I love that meme. I've used that one quite a few times. Well, it's funny because some of the things you guys were talking about reminded me of Blade Runner, the newer one, and without giving anything away.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one either.
Oh, no.
I really want to, though. I hear it's great.
There's a person that crafts memories for these androids, and it's like, wow, you got to be really good to craft the memories for the AI to feel that it was their own experience.
Yeah.
And so in a similar way, songwriters and musicians are getting up there, and they're crafting something for you, and there's truth in every song, even if it's not completely autobiographical. They're using some of the essence of themselves to take you on a trip down their memory lane in a way.
That is true, because I write songs from personal experience, but they're not 100% accurate, because I feel like there are certain, like, I'm trying to be accurate about the motion, and I'm also trying to teach a lesson, like a thought, you know what I mean, or a concept. And so sometimes a certain type of phrase or word will communicate that concept or that mood more than an actual truth.
Yeah.
I read one of the most amazing books, and I probably said this before on this show, but I read the most amazing book called Audition by Michael Sherflet. And it was written in, like, I think the 70s or 80s as a guide to actors on how to audition well, because you only have a couple of minutes to win over the director or, an agent or whatever, and get them to cast you in the part.
Right.
But it's amazing how much it applies to musical performance, because you only have one song to win somebody over or to communicate your idea.
Yeah.
And there's like this whole concept. The whole book is broken into principles of what you have to do during an audition and concepts. So one of them is being conversation is competitive, and you're in competition for everyone's attention. You're in competition when you have a conversation with somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Because you guys are listening to me because you think maybe I have something to say. And then if I don't have something to say, or you have something to say better,
the ultimate plot twist.
He's gonna interject, and it's a banter back and forth.
Banter.
It's a competition, but it's a constructive, positive experience.
Yeah.
And that's also what you have when you perform in any fashion, is that you're trying to communicate an idea, you're trying to convince people or persuade them about this concept, this idea, this mood, this feeling.
Oh yeah.
And
you want them to care.
Yeah, and I think it's very important when people craft music to have it still be authentic, so it's believable and intrinsic. But at the same time, it has to be entertaining and engaging to give that lesson. Yeah. Because I think that's where you were coming from about the hollowness of some songs. Like,
yeah.
I mean, you listen to a lot of pop music. Now, I like some pop music.
Me too.
And that's why it's popular. But other times it's like, okay, this is market saturation of a song that somebody who is rich has a lot of money and is going to put it out everywhere because they can afford to put it out there. And it doesn't have a whole lot of meaning. It's about like sex and not in a crafty,
not in a
way.
creative way, just gratuitous or
gratuitous sex or gratuitous drugs or gratuitous violence.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have a real purpose. I'm all for if you have a song about violence or whatever. I mean, some of the best songs I've ever heard were gangster rap.
Yeah.
Everything's Gonna Be All Right. One of the best rap songs I think ever, like hip hop songs, because you really start to feel that disenfranchisement of someone in that position in the ghetto and who's raised in a certain environment. It's like everything's going to be all right. Well, no, it's not, because I'm trying just to survive, and I've had a crappy life up till now, and anybody has felt that, I think, in their lives where they've just felt like, I'm not quite there. I feel like an outsider. I feel like the cards are stacked against me, and I think we've all had that, at least a moment of that, where you're like, Jesus Christ, like, come on, come on. And I think that but there's a craftiness that you have to have when you're writing a song to still have it be engaging. I mean, Lady Gaga is probably one of the best examples of not so much shock value, but forcing people to look at her.
Yeah. Well, that's the ultimate like persona. Like she's not actually like that. Like at least I don't think so. That's the sense that I get. It might be. I think partially it is her, but like ultimately it is to kind of grab people's attention. But like, I think that she does have something to say, though. That's the difference.
Oh yeah, and that's definitely always important. I think when you sit down to write a song, you write because you're feeling something strongly about an event or something you're going through, and that you have something to say out of that. I think if you try to force your craft and get up there and, talk about something that doesn't have an anchor in an experience, then people aren't going to be able to relate to it.
Well, and rarely does anybody ever just write down a song first time and then have a wonderful song. I mean, it takes some crafting. Yeah. Occasionally. Like, I've had one or two moments where I've written a song in an hour or something, and it's been like, oh yeah, I really like this song. It's great. But
even then, you have tweaks, But
then, you're always like tweaking and like, yeah.
And then there's of course production and everything that goes into it. But yeah, it takes time, and you have to put. For me at least, the songwriting process has to be organic. Can never be like, oh, guess what? I'm gonna write a ballad about hookers or something like that. I don't know. It just doesn't. It has to come organically for me. I feel a part in music, and then I'm like, well, what am I feeling that this could be? And then it starts to come together almost by itself, which is why all my songs have a different. Each one has a different process to it. So that's because I like to have them come organically, and then they sort of take on a life of their own.
That's beautiful. Well, tonight we kind of have a theme with our guest Spencer Losciavo, who you can check out. Chasing Ghosts is his latest album. We're trying to talk about the themes of getting your art started and everything that goes into that. And we're going to pick that back up on our next segment. So please stay tuned to Liner Notes Radio, joining you live from Hotel RL with Michele McTierney, Meg B, and Spencer Losciavo.
Keeping it real.
My name is Spencer Losciavo, and this song is called Chasing Ghosts. trail of wreckage and power lines past the point of no return. Damn the omens and the warning signs in a room where souls are burnt. And time has a way of showing us our reflections in the darkness. If I had my way, I'd shelter you where the demons won't linger. Turn your pain into dust. Are you alive? Said graffiti on the wall. I said yes because with you I felt so. And in my mind I was 1,000 feet tall. But I'm merely skin and bone. Feels like a past life or yesterday, or a long forgotten dream. I will brush off the dirt from your horns if you're falling apart at the seams. And time has a way of showing us our reflections in the darkness. If I had my way, I'd shelter you where demons don't linger. Turn your pain into dust.
All right, that was Spencer Losciavo from his new album called Chasing Ghosts. And we just want to thank Spencer for taking the time off from work to join us tonight. Michelle and I are very grateful to him for that, and to Hotel RL in all their endeavors. So we've been talking about the music business, getting your art started, and any creative project takes a lot of support, I would say, from family and friends. Did you have anybody when you were first starting out that really got behind your music and said, hey, you actually can do this and pursue it as a career?
Yeah, I would say my mom has always been my number one supporter. Goes to all my shows and always kind of like is there to boost my like even sometimes when I don't necessarily want to play, she's always kind of like pushing me to play as well. So yeah. So like she was definitely always there, and so so sometimes like it's hard to be like it's hard to be like okay to have that confidence, because like it's your mom, it's your family, like, or your friends. If your friends are saying like, oh my god, you're so good and stuff, it's hard to say, like, it's hard to have that confidence, right? Because you don't know if they're just being nice, or you know what I mean, like if you really are that good, or if you really do have that potential.
Well, and on the other side of the spectrum, I've never had that problem. Where I love my dad, I love my sister, I love my family, but they were always very much against me doing music or any kind of art. They wanted me to have a real job, as they put it, real job, making good money, and my dad still doesn't understand it. He considers it an expensive hobby, and, I think he knows how much I love it, and that now he's seeing the fact that I do make money at it, and the fact that I have gotten, awards and notoriety and stuff, that, oh, I guess you are good when it comes to comparatively speaking, but it's still that whole mentality of, well, there's only 1/100% that's ever really going to make it as a superstar. Sure. And why would that be you? Like you have a lot of things going against
why not?
you. And so I know some of you out there, you have some great supportive family members or friends or whatever, but you also have to make a family of your own if you don't have that. And it can be really hard if you don't have people who believe in you to move forward and be able to do what you dream by yourself. Now, I'm not saying I did it by myself. What I'm saying is I found people that I could trust who gave it to me straight. I found Marco Delmar, who was my producer of my album, A Work in Progress. I went to him, and I went to a voice teacher, and I took voice lessons. And the first time I ever took voice lessons, I had my eyes closed the entire time. Wow. And because I was so nervous, I didn't even want to look at the woman. And it was a free consultation. And when I do voice lessons, typically the first time is free anyway, because I want you to feel like, does this work for you, and do we mesh? But I closed my eyes the whole time. I sang Alanis Morissette's You Learn. And I opened up my eyes, and her mouth was this. She was like...
Uh-huh.
Now, immediately, my head went to a dark place, and I was like, oh, my God, you hate me. And she's like, what? And I was like, I'm so sorry. I started putting on my coat, started picking up my bags, and said, I'm sorry for wasting your time. Obviously, this is not going to work. I'm really, really sorry. I guess I know that I sucked. I was really bad. And she's like, I think you misunderstand me. Most people at your level don't bother with voice lessons. Now, of course, my mind went to a dark place again, and I was like, oh, my God. I'm like that girl who sang scat on American Idol or something. I'm horrible. Most people at your level don't even bother because, come on, you suck. And then she was like, no. You really don't know how good you are, do you? And I was like, what? And I remember feeling pissed, because I'd listened to all these people who had said, you're all right, but you're not quite good enough. And it was basically like plumbers telling somebody how to play flute. You know what I mean? Like, it's totally different animal. I needed to ask people who knew their craft and who were in the industry and who honestly wanted me to succeed because they wanted to be helpful and they wanted to be mentors. So I found people that were supportive, and I found people who gave it to me straight.
Yeah.
You know, and I was very lucky that when you really need a teacher, you'll find one. When you need a mentor, you'll find one. You just have to be open-minded and not be egotistical to block that feedback and block that experience out. So, I mean, I'm appreciative for all of those parents and friends and family who support, you know, their friends or family members in whatever endeavor they make. But I think a lot of parents also project. Yeah. You know, a lot of people project on people like, oh, if I'm not happy, then I don't think you should be, you know, or, you know, or, you know, I'm not achieving my dreams and, you know, or I want you to be what I wasn't when I was a kid. You know, I want you to have security, and me, in my mind, security is having a government job and making a certain salary and having a house and a car and 2.5 children. And that's not for everybody. So I think everybody has to find their own family and find their own support. Oh, yeah.
Well, and then that brings us to our next topic, is kind of building a fan base. We were going to talk about that. Is there any advice that you would give, Spencer, to anyone listening about how to build a fan base? Of course, you start with those you know. Any recommendations about branching out? You know, I heard one theory that said, you know, work with, you know, spread 25 miles radius from where you live, then work your way out 50 miles, you know, and just keep kind of branching out, doing open mics, playing venues. Is that how, you know, you feel you've built a fan base? What's worked for you over the years?
Well, you know, I used to be really, really timid about even telling people that I did this, you know, like I didn't really tell people.
Yeah, hiding it like Batman, right?
yeah, it's a secret identity. Nobody can know about it. And you know, right. And
I write songs in a cave.
yeah. Which is kind of I did, you know. Like, so, but then, like, once I found out, like, I'm actually like pretty good, that was when I you know would be a little bit more, you know, a little bit more abrasive about it, and I think that's what you have to do. You have to like throw out these sort of doubts and just be out there and just like, you know, like it. So I don't know if I have any like specific advice, but I do feel like oftentimes we're afraid to put our art out there, but as long as it speaks the truth, then some people will connect to it.
Oh, well, yeah. I think Gandhi had a quote, and I'm paraphrasing, that happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in complete harmony, and it's what you do may seem insignificant, but it's imperative that you do it. I really believe that all of us have a purpose.
Sure.
And everybody has talent or talents that they shouldn't be burying in the sand, kind of like the old Bible story, you know, like where, you know, the one brother was given, all three brothers were given money, and the one brother went out into the world and
prodigal son
made a fortune back and was like, hey, Dad, look at this. Here's your money back plus interest. You know, and he was like, and then the other brother was like, all right, Dad, I totally screwed the pooch on this one. I can't pay you back, and I also owe some money, so if you could help me out. And, you know, and what was funny is the father was like, well, I'm glad you tried.
Yeah.
And then the third son came back, and he had buried the money in the ground, and then came back and basically was like, hey, here's your money back. I didn't lose it like him. I may not have made some, but at least I didn't lose it. I'm not the worst son. And the father goes, you know, I'm most disappointed in you because you didn't even try.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
because it's like, well, you know, it's like the second brother was like, well, you learned a lot from this experience, right? And he's like, oh yeah, I did. Sure. Okay, you and the first brother and you guys get into business. He'll tell you what not to do, and you
sure.
make more money. But you know, I feel like everybody has something to say. Everybody has something to give, and if they're authentic about it and they really believe in themselves, then that's where the beauty is.
Yeah, and failure is the path to success. So like that's part of that story is like I failed so many times. You know, I you know had band members that would put my, you know, would do things to my songs that I didn't like, and I didn't have the courage to speak up about it, and it turned the songs into garbage. And then you know, like I would have producers, and the producers would turn my songs into garbage and not what I wanted.
So it all comes back to that confidence.
Yeah,
that's important
exactly.
in every aspect of the business.
And believing in your vision.
And having a vision,
Yeah.
you know, like I think I had a voice, but I didn't exactly know what I wanted it to be. And now that I know what I want it to be, I'm like, yeah, yeah, no, you know, I can say no to people and stuff like that. That's having that vision, and then having the utmost devotion to that vision is so important.
That was what is so ironic. When I was working with Marco Delmar on my album, he would constantly be asking, like, well, what is it that you really want? And I was kind of like flabbergasted on that, because I was like, you want my opinion? He's like, it's your album. What's your vision? And I was like, well, I kind of thought this and this. And he's like, all right, let's do that. And he really empowered me to make decisions. And then when I made a decision and, you know, and I really wanted to do what I wanted to do, he was totally supportive of that. He's like, let's do what you have in your head. You know, we can do that, but you just have to vocalize that and do it. And I had always had people telling me what to do my whole life, and, you know, telling me what was right or what was wrong or what I should be doing. And for the first time, somebody actually was like, no. What you want to do is good. And it's just because that's you. Let's bring that out, and let's bring that to the table, because you have plenty to offer. And I was just like flabbergasted. I was like, oh my God. But then I was so proud of that album, because it was totally me, and I had, you know, it was my handprint on that. It was my fingerprint, my soul, my heart. You know, and I know you feel the same way. I mean, this is just a beautiful, beautiful album.
When I produced this, when I set out to make this, I didn't think about, oh, it's going to be too expensive. I didn't think it's going to be really hard to do. I didn't, and also I didn't think about any kind of obstacles, you know. So I just didn't think about it. You know, I called up Kenny, the engineer, and was just like, I wanna make something. I wanna make an EP, and it sort of like evolved over time. And like same kind of thing is just like I did most of the instruments on that. So I did guitar, I did bass, I did vocals, I did keys, I did everything except for drums and violin and my sister's vocals, obviously. So you know, so yeah, like it is, what you are hearing is 100% my vision, 100% what I wanted to do. And I guess I could have sat and I could have tweaked everything, and I could have been like, no, this is too loud, let's bring this down. But at the end, I was like this is what I wanted it to be. I'm sure some people can critique it. I'm sure some people might hate it, whatever. But this is exactly what I wanted it to be, and so far people have responded really positively to it, like you know. So
that's beautiful. Now, Chasing Ghosts, we should talk a little bit more about the album. You played Unplugged. What was the other song that you played?
Forgive Yourself.
Forgive Yourself. You know, do these songs have a common theme that run through them? And what ghosts are you chasing?
Oh yeah. Wow. That's
good question.
And
nice.
great segue. So, basically, I am in love with the concept of albums. You know, I love having an album, and listening to it, getting intimate with it, getting familiar with it, and there's there's a certain structure to it. Like it's sort of gone out a little bit nowadays. You know, like nowadays it's more about let's put out the next hit single. Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah.
And I can see the appeal to that, but I produced this like an album.
That's great.
So I I chose these 4 songs very carefully.
And in this order. That
In-
takes
in
a lot
this-
of choosing as well.
And in this order, I'd always meant to call it Chasing Ghosts, and I'd always meant for Chasing Ghosts to be the last song. That was my very, very first decision. And so
that way they have to listen to the whole album.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know. I wouldn't say that I had like a common theme in mind exactly, but my idea was basically like produce it like an album. So you have like this introduction song and this like anthem that's Crescent Moon Anthem. Then you have like a little bit slower but catchier song, and then you have like the bigger like kind of pop song, and then you have the ballad at the end. So that was kind of my idea, was having that diversity in there, and that was really important to me.
Are you one of the ghosts that you're chasing?
Well,
Ghost of your former self?
I would say that no, not really.
Meg, wrong.
I mean, that's a
Digging
great
deep.
interpretation. I'll
Mhm.
take it, but
Yeah.
sort of so I'm actually talking about literal ghosts in this
Okay.
in this song. The story is, I went to an abandoned mental asylum with an ex-girlfriend, and it was really, it was an interesting experience. It felt like a dream. It's so weird to look back and think on it now, and that was sort of the beginning of the end of that relationship. So as when that happened, I had always man, like it was such a weird experience. Like, I wish I had time to tell the whole story, but I hope that you can gather that from the song. It is literal, and it is also, figurative as well.
To be in an environment like that, though, I mean, to feel that, that's kind of an empathy kind of thing, and I feel like a lot of singer-songwriters have to be very empathetic or empaths
Yeah.
in order to know what they're feeling, but also it's almost like when you're on stage, I mean, it's like you're channeling towards that audience. Like we were talking about, like this engaging communal kind of therapy almost. Do you feel like you connect with an audience, and do you feel like you lead them on the journey with you when you're singing your songs?
Wow, that's another really good question. That, I feel like I can, if I have an idea for a set list, and if I really believe in that set list and that journey, the audience will go on that journey with you. So I do feel like I try to take them with me rather than let them show me where to go. Because like if you came out to see me, then chances are you want to see what I'm gonna do, not what you want me to want to do. You know what I mean?
I mean, I do, because I think a lot of people who go into music, they do it because of marketability or what they think people will want to see. People don't want to see what you think they want you to see. That's just silly. That's like a funhouse mirror.
Yeah.
What I love the most about your show at Sparta was the last song you played. It was Just You.
Oh, yeah.
And that was so incredibly powerful. I mean, the sound guy was like, whoa. Everyone in the audience was like, what happened to the rest of the band? And then you just brought it. Like, you know what I mean? It was just you on the stage, and like everything else fell away. It was amazing. And that was a conscious choice, right?
That was, yeah. 'Cause I hadn't even planned to do that song. That's a newer song that it comes from a very, very personal place.
What was it called?
It's called Too Little Too Late.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very that's a very personal song for me. So actually my bassist David was like, why don't you do this song like just by yourself? Like, we'll get off the stage and then you just take the stage and do it. And I was like, okay. It just seemed like the right idea to do at the time. And then
But so you were open to that.
Yeah,
you were open to that feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. My whole band, and I think that the reason that like I love my whole band is that they give me this feedback. They respect my vision like nobody else, and then they also give me feedback, and I also trust their feedback. So it just like when they tell me maybe do this, I consider it immediately.
Because I ran back to the CD and I'm like, where's that song he did? That song he did by himself. Where is it? It's not on here.
Yeah.
I feel gypped. When are we going to hear this?
Yeah,
this other song
coming soon. That's going to be
Coming
on the
soon.
next EP for sure. And
Awesome.
and when we have the full band in it, it's even better.
Do both versions. You should do
What
two
on
versions.
on the CD?
Yeah. Do one of yourself and then one with the full band. Because I did actually two versions of two of my songs on my album because Courage. I had one song that was it's like a dance tune. It's very upbeat because it's about having the courage to do what you dream. But then I did this really mournful kind of torch song where it was just me and the piano. And it was all because the pianist came in, Brian Sims, who's amazing. Really nice guy as well. And so he's just started practicing, and he was kind of doing this like Imagine kind of feel, just trying to get the chords down in the studio. And I was like, I want to do a slow version. And I leaned over to the sound engineer, like, let's get a slow version of this. And he's like, I think you're right. And so like Brian had finished up, and I'm like, Brian, you're not done yet. Sit back down and let's do a slow version of this. And we ended up cutting out part of the chorus, but it was just such a totally different animal of a song. And people are drawn between which one they like better, because one is very upbeat and inspirational, and you can like work out to it and stuff, and the other one is just like gut wrenching and heartfelt. I think you should do both versions.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always doing different versions of different songs, and even if you go see me live, you'll see a different version of these songs. Like not totally different that it alienates you, but it's if you already like the song, but you'll notice a difference, right?
And don't you love that?
Yes.
Being able to be a live performer, you can reinterpret your own songs, and I kind of like that because with every different band member who's in my band, like I have sometimes need to change out like a bass player or a drummer, because of availability and stuff, and I'm sure you've been there too. Like play the gig, and every time you play it is different.
Yeah.
Every show is unique, like a snowflake.
Yeah.
And I kind of go by the whole like Frank Zappa of like, I'd rather make a change in a song and play something different and fuck up than play the same damn shit every night.
Oh yeah, and that's part of the beauty of live performance, and you just get in this zone where you're performing, and then you're like, there's that voice inside you that's like, what if we try this? This is live. This is a kind of a big risk, but let's try it. And then you try it, and it could be great, or you could fail, or whatever, but like the point is that you tried it. It was new.
Yeah. There's a beauty in that. There's a real beauty in that. So in closing, what would you like to, because you're here on this show, it's an educational show, it's an entertaining show, but it's also educational. And what would you like to leave as your final sentiments to somebody who is just starting out, or maybe somebody who's been working at music for a little while, but they're not to that next level yet? How do they get there mentally, or how do they get there? What would you like to leave them with advice?
One thing, again, and I cannot stress this enough, is do not think about any kind of I can't, it's too hard. I can't. It's too difficult. Like as a music teacher, anytime I hear that, I'm like, okay, I haven't done this yet, but I've had an idea of like, anytime you say I can't, it's too hard, or something like that, then I'm gonna make you do scales for like 5 minutes. So probably not. Probably
Jumping
not.
jacks, but whatever. I
do
the same thing
and
with my
some
students,
of them, and some of them are like, well, but I like doing scales, so that just fails. But yeah, my point is like doing this, like whether you like it or not, like it's exactly what I want it to be, and I didn't think about I can't do it. I didn't think about it's too expensive. I didn't think it's weird, like, and we're getting into some real metaphysical, like, you know, like weird stuff. But if you keep your focus and you don't think about that kind of things, the universe will kind of like conspire to manifest it and make it a thing. So that's what I want to say to people is stay true to your vision, and don't think about anything don't think about any kind of hindrance, you know.
Because this is an opus for you. This was a sign of like immense work and discipline and.
Oh, totally, and it's really shown, because I've had so many, I've had so many opportunities come from this, and I'm not saying they're like huge opportunities. Just I'm not saying that as soon as I released this that suddenly I had record executives like thumping on my door and backing the Brinks truck up to my house, like that just doesn't happen. But so many more doors have opened to me, rather than when I was stuck inside doubting myself, thinking, oh, I could never do it.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. Mic drop. Thank you so much, Spencer. I can't get over. I mean, this is just such a beautiful album, and you're such a talented performer and such a nice guy.
Thank you.
Such a nice guy too.
Yeah, we appreciate you taking time off from work
Thank
tonight.
you so
to
much.
I had a great
join
time.
us. Thank you so
I'm
much.
so glad we had a great time too.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to Liner Notes Radio. I'm Meg B, and this is Michele McTierney and Spencer Losciavo. Thanks so much to Hotel RL, and have a great night.
Good night.
May the force be with you always.
Bye.